Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast, your weekly source of hopefully recording insanity. I'm not Brad, that's not Josh, and together we are not sane.
Ever.
Individually, we're not sane either.
Yeah, so we don't really hold it against each other. It just sort of multiplies.
Yes. So, we've had a lot of big news lately. We put out a near the end of the week episode last week, and then we are continuing to talk about some of that big news with the Quest 2 and whatnot this week, because Brad didn't get a chance to put his 2 cents into it.
$1.50, but yeah.
Okay. Inflation,
Right.
Inflation gets you every time. And there was also news of a potential competitor to the Quest. But is it really? We'll discuss that later. And remember to like, subscribe, and drag your friends so they can subscribe also. Otherwise, we will never record an episode again. Well, actually, we will keep recording, but we want you to spread the word, spread the good news. Bring people into the fold. Knock on their door and say, "Have you heard of VR Untethered podcast?"
And then run. Now that you've killed off our few remaining subscribers. That's
Alright, so let's start, as always, with whatever highlights we have. Brad, do you have any highlights this week?
Oh, God. I have lowlights, which are sort of mixed with my highlights.
We're not talking about your hair.
Okay. Only my hairdresser knows for sure. And boy, do you have to be old to remember that one. Anyway, my highlight and my lowlight this week would have to be Solaris. Also my highlight would be that Amazon actually acknowledged my order and gave me a date I can expect my Quest 2 as well. So that's something, being that...
That's always good.
I know.
Knowing when you can expect what is coming to you.
Well, nobody else wants to really give everybody else's estimated date to be announced. It's like nobody knows how many Quest 2s they're getting. So they take the orders and they've stopped giving you approximate dates if you're ordering now, and they're just, you'll get it at some point.
Right. Well, if I remember right from the Quest 1 launch, Amazon was not necessarily giving you the dates either, but it turned out that it arrived at, for most people, at the same time everyone else's did.
Right.
So, but I expect it'll probably go similarly this time. So
I'm expecting the first week, most people that did the ordering in the first day will get it. But after that, it's going to be, nobody knows really. Yeah. Considering that they were making 2 million headsets, I don't know how many they'll have available right away.
Well, I think they should have made 200 million. I
do too. Either that or...
Because then they never have to make any more. Until the Quest 3 came out.
Which is what, 6 months from now? Or
something like that. Yeah.
I don't want Node finding any more hidden code to let us know when the next piece is coming out. So, okay.
Yep, sorry. Just to clarify, you were talking about Node in our Discord and not Node on YouTube.
Exactly, I'm talking about
two different individuals.
Exactly. Sorry.
One is a group and one is an individual. So.
Right. I'm talking about our individual beloved Node who gives us the pieces of code that he's able to pull out of Oculus's. Yep. Well, Facebook, Oculus. I don't know anymore.
Oculus.
Right, Facebox. They should just go right for that now and just eliminate all of this other Facebook / Oculus / what the heck / I particularly found it interesting that they had some German instruction on the box as well. Right. Now, it's not going to be sold in Germany.
Well, I think they are still hoping to be able to sell it there. They just need to get everything cleared.
Yeah, that's just like back to my
Speaking of which,
highlights.
though, I received notification from them that I'm no longer having my Facebook account or Oculus account managed by the Facebook Island. Now I'm just the Facebook Ltd.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think they have.
Well, I don't know if you remember,
I do.
but that email I got one saying the Facebook Island, and then another one later saying the Facebook Global, basically.
Right.
And then even later, I got another one saying, you may have received an email saying it's the Facebook Island. You were actually Facebook Global. But if you were in the EU, it'd be Facebook Island.
Yeah, they've got their crap together. Incredible. It literally took me speaking with 4 different people within Oculus to get them to acknowledge my order was placed, which I already knew, but to try and get them to give me a date as to the date, since I ordered it like 2 minutes after it was
Right.
announced.
Right.
They won't. They're just like, we'll send you an email once we ship it. It's like, oh, not if somebody else ships it first.
Well, actually, given what happened with the Quest 1, the charge comes first, and then the email comes.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever happens with that, we'll find out later. This to be announced. The next month, I guess.
Because I think last time I was playing the let's try both ways, see which one hits first or whatever, and then I got the charge from Oculus. I'm like, oh. Yeah. Cancel the other one.
Quick. I know exactly. Well, that's how I'm playing it this time. I did the Oculus and the Amazon order, and we'll see which one.
Well, I put in an Amazon pre-order, but just a couple days ago, because of having the opportunity to get some Amazon gift cards to help offset the price. I was like, I should probably get it set through Amazon then, so that it is a cheaper price for me.
Makes sense.
So,
which leads me to the highlight that I was going to get into, which is Solaris, which I only purchased because Oculus, for the first time ever, gave me a $10 certificate that had to be used before Friday. So it was like,
I haven't gotten that yet.
that's, I just figured, well, when you place a pre-order for several $100s, they'll give you $10 back, but maybe not, obviously. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe Ireland is still trying to get in touch with Limited, to get in touch with you, to get you. Yeah. But Solaris, let's get to Solaris for a minute here. Solaris has the makings of being a fantastically immersive game. Really does. I mean, you jump in, it takes very little tutorial to learn how to play the game. And it should be one of the most fun games to play, really. Just like grab it and go. Except it's not. And to try and dissect why it's not is really almost harder than actually dealing with why it's not. While you're playing, you just see the unlimited potential of this game for fantastic play, really fantastic. Right. Quick action, jumping from portal to portal, squatting up and helping your teammates to defend a control point, and just really good stuff and very good graphics. Most of the sound effects are pretty good. Like everything is really pretty top notch, except for gameplay. The mechanics are just so incredibly wonky. And whoever's idea it was to have your left hand just automatically glue itself to your weapon while it's still hanging by your side. Right. And the funny thing is like you really have to pull the other controller away to get your hand to disengage, and you just have to push it minimally, really minimally.
So it was like
Exactly.
And
Exactly. It's just like, what the heck? And also the inverse kinematic, the graphics on them
right,
still want to try and be 3 DOF, even though it does give you the 6 DOF freedom
okay,
of movement. You're just not getting that feedback from the
right,
you know, it's like you're gauging everything by where your shot goes. The things it does right, it puts the reticle right on your opponent because it's a very fast moving game. You don't have to judge how you miss them. You can go right for them, which is great.
right.
The problem is respawn points are way too close and people can kill you as you're spawning into the game. Literally as you're.
That's always the recipe for disaster.
Exactly. You know, like, come on, serious. I've just waited for 10 seconds to respawn. And as I'm respawning, all of a sudden I'm dead. I have no idea where the shot came from,
Yep.
why I'm dead. And also the way
Well,
that,
a lot of games that have that specific kind of respawn mechanic also put a shield around you for the first 3 to 10 seconds so that you can't be hurt, so you have a chance to actually to get back in the game.
right.
But that sounds like they're not doing that.
Well, no, they're not doing
Yeah.
that. They're not doing the two-handed thing, you know, give
Right.
me dual wield or give me something with the other hand. Don't let it
Right.
just
Well.
hang there.
Right.
And I guess all of this really is compounded by the fact that when you first start the game and you put on the helmet is fantastic. I mean, you feel like Darth Vader. You know, you could see the parts beneath your nose that have, or you know, all the
Right.
house and the stuff above your head, and you feel like you're in a virtual reality helmet. You know,
Well, you are.
well, no, you're not. You're still in Solaris, which is the problem. You
No,
know.
you really are in a virtual reality.
Yeah, I know, but
Sorry. Bad
it's
joke, bad joke.
I know. It's just like, look, in Super Hot when you have to put on that headset, it's a cartoony headset, you know. But this other thing is just like you don't understand. When you put it on, it's like, oh my God, this is going to be the best game I've ever played because it's such a realistic helmet feeling. And then it feels like the players themselves, the suits, were generated by a very generic asset company that put out this really wonky avatar and they're all the same, which is
Right.
very not cool, you know?
Yeah. Well, sounds like I'm better off waiting for Hyperdash.
Well, that's the weird part is there are people that are writing that they love this game and hate Hyperdash. And I'm just wondering, like, what is going on here, you know?
Those are probably the PSVR users that are using DualShock controllers.
It could be. The thing that I was wondering about is why in the first 10 minutes everybody was giving it 4 and 5 stars, and then after 20 minutes they all dropped down to 2 and 1 star. It's like, you know,
Because those were people rating it without having played it.
yeah.
People do that. I've never understood why. Don't rate the game if you haven't played it. I mean, I've even read reviews saying, I'm rating this 5 stars even though I have not played it yet because I just know it'll be the best game ever. You don't know that unless you've actually played it.
No, and I think that when people do their reviews, maybe some of their reviews should be linked to each other so that you can see how they reviewed
Yeah,
some other games as well.
right.
So
Yeah,
maybe,
maybe. Yeah.
you know, maybe
Other
you can
reviews
see,
by, yeah. I mean, Amazon has a way of doing that, I believe. You can go and look up other reviews by the same person, I think.
yes, you can. You
So,
can.
yeah.
Although now that they're saying that most of the Amazon reviews are fake anyway, it doesn't really.
Well, my reviews on Amazon are not fake.
Okay. So I'll take but that's just it, is you really do have to know who's reviewing this. You can't just go by a random set of reviewers,
Right.
or somebody who gives everything 5 stars, which a lot
Yeah.
of people do. And a
Well,
lot of
I
people,
tend to give everything 4 stars. I very rarely go 5 stars. I very rarely go 1 star. It's all in the 2, 3, 4 range. You know, if I don't like it, I usually go a 3 rather than a 2. You know,
I tend to be more forgiving than not,
yeah,
unless it's Solaris, in which case I mean, there really is. I think Solaris. I didn't even write a review for the Curious Pets, the Tale of the Curious,
Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets.
whatever the name was. I've eliminated it from my mind. It was like the
Ginkgo
worst thing.
biloba.
Yeah. Even no, I don't want to remember it. Do you understand? It's gone, and I want it gone. I would take one of the giant sandworms from Dune and put it in my ear if it could remove every last trace of it. But no, that was really, I think I finished that game in about 8 minutes and wondered why anybody bothered making it. You know, it really is a demo as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, from what I heard, it's a fairly well done demo. I have never played it, so I don't know. But no, yeah, it's a really short game. That's why I never got it, because I heard and read and saw everything saying how short it was, and I'm like, no, I'm sure it's fun and well done and all that, but it's too short,
Right. I didn't find any fun in it either because the puzzles were so ridiculously easy. It was like,
Right.
oh, look, there's a house with a bush in front of it. Could what we're looking for be behind the bush? It's like, can you give me 8 seconds to try and figure this out for myself?
Right.
Throw that at me. So, and I guess my other highlight would have been I finished The Room before,
Nice.
what would have been the week before. And I think that it was.
So what did you think of the ending of that?
Not as good as the rest of the game.
That was more interactive cinematics than a puzzle part.
Yeah.
In a way.
The problem is that game itself could definitely put you in a Lovecraftian type of mood. And it did at times, take you into that other dimension and give you that jinky feeling. And it did some of those things really, really well. It did a couple of them not so great. And the ending, I really didn't understand, to be very honest with you. Some of the notes about the possibilities of what this guy could do and all the things that you're trying to accomplish in there, I never got the sense of impending doom if I didn't solve the problem.
The collector was collecting souls to basically power himself, and he was trapping souls and being a bad guy, and you just set them all free.
Right, but the way that it was written, it was like the entire world was going to come under his control. It was like something that had to be done. They just made it much bigger.
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're tracking down.
I know what you mean about that, but yeah. So.
Other than that, I really liked it.
Yeah. So. Anyway, unless you have more highlights, I want to jump into mine real quick.
Okay.
And then we can talk about the new release, which was Solaris. No.
Don't make me.
One of my highlights this week was reading just this morning a Medium article about Google Expeditions and its use in the classroom. It was written by a teacher who had never used it before, and her Google rep was demoing it basically at the school. And all of her kids come in, and they're obviously like elementary school kids. It says year 8. So I'm assuming that means 8-year-olds, not 8th grade.
So you can really interpret it either way.
If they're using words like, "Miss, they're sick all over the place," that's not an that's not an 8th grader. That's an elementary school kid. They're not going to call it sick. They're going to call it vomit.
Right. I would hope so. If they're still going back towards sick, then.
So, but in case you are not familiar with what Google Expeditions is, it's a cardboard app, essentially, that allows a teacher to have on an iPad or an Android tablet the lesson and be able to ensure that all of the kids are looking at the right spot, that they're in the right spot, that they've all moved on to the next part of the lesson and all that. And there is narration provided, or you can just use your own words to teach the lesson. And in this case, they were doing a lesson about the human digestive system, where they were all from the perspective of food in the mouth, going down the esophagus and into the stomach, and all that good stuff. Kind of like a Magic School Bus episode.
Sounds like it.
And it was very immersive. All the kids were really excited and talking about it, and and they got immersed into it. And one of the kids yelled out, "Miss, there's sick on the floor," or "There's sick everywhere," and she runs to the back of the room and expecting to find vomit on the floor. But no, he was talking about he was in the stomach, and he saw the stomach juices all over the place.
Okay.
Like, oh. But that just goes to show the power of VR in education. And the teacher kind of lamented a little bit that it's not used more widely. Which, I mean, even though it is Google Cardboard, which is as 3DOF as you can get, and we're all Quest and whatnot now, that's still really powerful, especially to a little kid, and cardboard headsets are cheap. The Google Expeditions app, I believe, is free. Right. All you need is an iPad, which the teachers already have, or an Android tablet, which, depending on the school, they already have. And you just need phones that are capable of cardboard, which almost every currently available phone is. So you can get like say you have a class size of 20 and you just rotate them through, so all you need is 20 $30 phones, that's right. Not going to break any school's budget.
Well, or what about all of the Go's that are soon to be available, and all the original 3DOF sets that are still... Right. That's the thing, is that, yes, 6DOF is without a doubt more immersive. However, if you're sitting in a seat in class, 3DOF is fine.
Yep.
Absolutely fine. 6 is going to work against you at that point.
It's going to make you want to get up and move when you should be in your seat still.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So 3DOF definitely, as far as immersing the child or immersing even anybody who's learning, there's no problem with 3DOF. 6DOF is really for freedom of movement. 3DOF is still going to give you the input that you need to reinforce whatever it is that is being taught to you. So,
and in some ways, cardboard headsets actually have better optics. If you have a high enough resolution phone screen, they don't use the Fresnel lenses. They use the old Gear VR style lenses, which provide clearer optics. And so it's still high quality optics.
Right. Either way you slice it, I mean, it's not like the graphics in the Go were awful. The graphics were fine.
No.
So
they were just fine. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I think that once again, I think we've all agreed. Everybody who's in any sort of VR play understands that VR is just a much better way of reinforcing anything than just sitting in a classroom and looking at a blackboard, whiteboard, or being distracted by other stuff.
Right. And the other highlight I wanted to get into is there was a Rift title release, I think it was this week, called The Last Goodbye. It's a free title. It's an experience, not a game. And every year there is a survivor of, I believe, Auschwitz who goes and visits there as a reminder every year, and he is narrating his experience in this app. And it's a combination of 360 non-stereoscopic video and room scale computer generated environments within there, with him as a 3D animated speaking individual that looks photorealistic. So I didn't get all the way through it yet. I was doing just a little bit of it yesterday, but it's pretty powerful. It starts off with him sort of looking out the window and whatnot, and narration in the background going on about how he always has nightmares after he visits, and he lost his mother and his father and his sister, and all that he can remember of his sister is her beautiful blonde braid. He can't really picture her face anymore, and and then you are walking into a train car, and that's your first walk around area, and then you are standing in the shower area where he's talking about how they were told to jump into what he thought was water, but it was really a disinfectant. So he comes out and he's feeling burning all over his body, and then he realizes he's in the shower, and by then they'd all already heard of what the Nazis did with the shower, so he was like, I'm going to die. But it was just water. So, yeah. And then you're in the crematorium later on, and yeah. So
it's going to be some powerful stuff. I don't think some people will be able to handle it, to be honest.
No, I mean the only thing I don't like about it, and I don't mean like as in, whoa, because obviously it's a very serious and heavy topic, but the standing parts with the 360 video is not very high resolution video.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of is a little pixelated and blurry, but that's kind of not really the point, but still that's one thing that does should detract a little bit from it.
Right. Look, of course, any downplay in quality distracts when you're immersed. So,
right.
But still, that's
like a very powerful thing. It is free if you think you can handle it. It is a good reminder of a very dark and horrible time that we would do well to not forget.
Yeah, we do need reminders of that sometimes. We tend to go overboard as humans, and every now and then we have to realize that the consequences could be much greater than we ever imagined.
Yes. So, do we want to talk about Solaris Offworld Combat, or have we already beaten that horse to death?
Well, if you want to have a few words to say about it, I'm willing.
I've not played it, so I don't really have any input on it, really. The only thing I would say is I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of just one hand available, but with the implementation that you and Michael have described, it does sound kind of horrible. Because most of the other games that are already one-hand only games, they just leave your other hand out of the game entirely. You only have one hand. They don't put in a canned animation, and you're running around with your other hand like in a Doom style fashion. always out there or whatever.
Well,
You
the
know?
crazy part of it is when you first get into the game and you have to work through the terrible tutorial that they have. Um, you're looking at this and you're going like, why? Why every time because you have both hands in the tutorial. Both your hands are operating, your fingers are moving. So what did they do? you know,
Right.
and in what way does that add to the game? In what way does breaking your immersion make you more immersed?
Right.
So, I can't see how they could defend. Once again, I don't mind one-handed either. I mean, one-handed is fine. I can live with that very easily. When I play
Right.
Dead Buried, I
Yeah.
can grab my pistol with
Right.
my
Yep.
second
Yep.
hand.
The pistol whip is one-handed. Tower tag is one-handed. And those work well.
But
But
in death, when I'm
having that,
using,
having that extra hand and the kind of hybrid 3 DOF to 6 DOF motion thing, and yeah, I can understand that's not very immersive. That the kind of so disjointed and jarring.
exactly, and that's just it. Is you keep, like people said, that when you look at the game, it shows you basically having these long paths to be able to run on, and they're very short. I mean, the corridors are all short. There's a lot of turning. There's a problem with implementing the sprint because you're supposed to push down on the left button. So
Right.
either half of the Oculus left
Oh,
controllers out there don't work anymore.
so that's the left trigger button
No,
thing.
not the trigger, the
Is
actual
it sprint?
joystick.
Oh, okay.
The joystick that you move with,
Right.
you
Right. Right.
push
Right.
down on it is supposed to let you sprint.
Yeah. I hate games that make you click that because that my left controller is not what it used to be because of playing Echo,
I was going to
where
say,
you have to push down on that stick to boost, and you go like boost, 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 and then a few minutes later, boost, boost, boost.
I know, I was thinking it's like I said, when I was playing with other people in the game, most of whom were complaining and saying that they were going to be returning it. Um, a few people seem to be able to do the sprint, and a few people seem to be able to do the slide. But I would guess that those people probably bought their Quest less than 3 months ago. And this
Right.
is either a Facebook problem with the quality control on that left controller and developers overusing certain,
Right.
maybe use the button as opposed to the joystick if you want to press. Pretty much, I mean,
Right. Uh, Hang on 1 second. We were going to try to get Joe Stroud in as a guest. He's one of the developers on Elysia.
right.
He sent me a message real quick. So,
Okay.
uh, 1 second. Sorry about this. It's almost like it's a live
It
recording.
is. Really? Oh my God. Well, I'll just keep talking about Solaris while you're doing that then. I can't I can't recommend it, and I can't say don't try it.
Right.
It's really that one of those types of games. You will be disappointed, I guarantee you. But if somebody gets the developer who's been,
To get their head out of the very dark place.
yes, exactly. Well, I would hope some sunshine does reach there, and they understand that these people that are writing that this could be a great game, but the way you've implemented it sucks, will take that to heart. That these people aren't just saying this is a terrible game. They're saying, I
Right.
want to love this game. Why are
Right.
you doing this? And as
Right.
opposed to saying, maybe it was a bad choice, we'll talk about it.
Right.
They're
Yeah,
defend.
but from what Michael has been saying, he'd been talking with the developer, and other people have been as well, and it sounds like the developer's like, no, all this was a deliberate choice. People will get used to it. This is how it should be.
Right.
You will learn to like it. You will be assimilated.
Yeah.
Resistance is
Resistance
futile.
is just really awful, especially considering people are telling them what the main two or three problems are. And that's all that there is, two or three problems. If they
Right.
see,
And I mean, personally, I wouldn't mind just having the left hand, to freely track and all that, and still not do anything as long as it's freely tracked. I mean, one of the other games that you and I play that is coming out soon, you don't really do a whole lot with the left hand, except for climb and fly.
Also reload.
A two-handed weapon, but most of the time it's just, just like in real life, you use your dominant hand for most everything, and the offhand, it doesn't do as much.
Right.
So I wouldn't mind, not having much to do with the left hand, but having it to there in like an awkward position when it's not really there in reality, that's going to mess a lot of people up. So,
well, between that and not having a party system, so you can't play with friends, which really is like, seriously,
right?
At this point,
how is it supposed to be an esport if you can't party up and make specific matches? I mean, I'm assuming that'll come at some point, but
right,
that should have been there at the beginning.
That's once again when I complained about the curation process from Facebox, is that they're the ones responsible. Faceoculus. Okay, we're getting even more confusing now. Faceoculus 2. It's just that I would have hoped that at least somebody from Facebook or Oculus was monitoring the reviews and was able to get to the developer and say, the same people, it's the same complaint from everybody. I think maybe you guys want to reconsider being right or being good.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing, as you well know, the developers that listen to the base develop a base that is loyal and follows the game and loves the developers and then waiting for the next game. Developers who want to say that they know what they're doing, even if you like their game, don't really get picked up much.
Yep. I mean, Aspire 1 had similar issues when it started. It was full of bugs, things weren't working right, people were really not happy with it, but they listened, they took a step back, they redesigned it, and they fixed the bugs, and then they fixed more bugs, and they fixed more bugs,
right?
And now it's a really solid title, and they have a strong fan base.
But that's what they did, because they listened and because they didn't say, no, this is the way it should be, and you're going to learn to love it. I don't know of anybody that's ever done that and gotten somebody to learn to love it. Usually just that reaction is enough to make you not.
I hear Dr. Strangelove did that.
Yeah, okay.
I've never actually watched that, so it's just a reference to the title, How I Learned to Love the Bomb. I
know. I have watched it, and Peter Sellers was great, if any of you remember who Peter Sellers is. And the movie itself really was a Kubrick's, if any of you remember Kubrick. And, once again, it really was a fantastic movie for the time. Now it's going to be kind of hard to watch,
Yeah.
And it was pretty much a spoof on Failsafe, which, if you don't remember anything I'm talking about, you're not going to remember Failsafe either.
So, anyways, speaking of failing, which is kind of like falling, why don't we move on to our upcoming titles, which we only have a handful.
An armful, you mean?
Why don't we start out with what we know is coming next week? We have Until You Fall, which is coming out on the 29th. And we have Star Wars Squadrons coming out on October 2nd, I believe. So,
yes, but is Squadrons coming directly to the Quest, or is it coming to
No, it's a PC, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If it were coming for the Quest, it would probably be on the 29th, so just like Until You Fall. So.
Right.
But this is coming out Saturday, basically.
I know, very strange day. We're not used to that at all anymore.
Yes. So, Until You Fall is highly anticipated roguelike game, swords and
rhythm.
and whatnot. Same kind of rhythm, and it's kind of pistol whippy graphical style. You know, kind of highly abstract, very colorful.
Right.
You know.
And it's swords, and you have to hold your sword in certain ways and be able to block it.
I told you, if there's an attack coming at you and you see a white line, that means hold your sword up like that, and you'll block it.
Sort of Dirk the
Don't
Daring.
get it there in time, you get hit.
Right. So. Once again, like Dirk the Daring, sort of, you get your visual cues, because I guess the game is super fast, and it looks to be good. It really does. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Although I was looking forward to Hollow Point also.
Well, this one should be a lot better on the graphics.
Yeah.
The right kind of graphical style to mask a lot of the downgrade that they probably had to do.
Right. Yeah, it looks great. It really does. It's a fun game. I just hope it's not from the makers of Solaris.
It's not.
Good.
So, and we also have Star Wars Squadrons. Excuse me while I revert to childhood and have a lisp.
I was going to say, it sounded more like Daffy Duck. Yeah. The Squadrons.
Yeah. Or the priest and Princess Bride. Squadrons.
Whoa.
So anyway,
yes.
In Star Wars Squadrons, you pilot a Star Wars spaceship, and it's designed with VR in mind. It supports HOTASs, and I'm not sure what the motion control will be like. I haven't played it. I think it obviously I haven't. I think it will support gamepads as well. And all in all, it looks to be probably a really good game. One thing that is kind of unique about it is not doing microtransactions. So great. Everything in the game, all the cosmetics, you can earn. You're not forced to spend real money to buy the cosmetics.
Yeah. So I really hate the in-app purchase thing that they're doing in some of these games. It's ridiculous because basically when they're selling us $20 games for $25 or $30, include the in-app purchase.
Yeah.
You already had us pay for it, so.
Exactly. Now, if it's a free game and it's got in-app purchases, so that's okay, as long as it doesn't turn into a pay-to-win. If it's just cosmetics or fun items that don't really affect your chances of winning, so that's fine.
It sort of reminds me of Slightly Heroes, where they had a couple of guns and characters that you couldn't get without paying the extra money with that skin came abilities. So
yes, but they had everything kind of balanced as well for the most part, because characters that were really strong in one area tended to be really weak in another area. So it all kind of balanced out. So it wasn't really a pay to win, because if you got those characters, you weren't necessarily guaranteed to win with them.
True, but if you got the alien, you were going to stand a very good chance.
Yeah.
Or the gold gun on, the big guy.
Right.
So, like I said, some of them had the extra ability as well, which was kind of stupid. You're going to pay for skin is fine. But.
Yep. So, regardless of Slightly Heroes, which is that dead game that will never be able to be played again, because thank you, King, for buying it and then killing it. I don't understand that.
I can't understand that.
Star Wars Squadrons does not have that, so we're good.
I'm looking forward to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that too, and that's down the list there too. It's probably should be up next to this one.
That's what I'm thinking.
We have Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. That is an upcoming title as well. I don't believe that we have an official release date for it, but it is coming sometime in the indefinite near future. It looks to be fun. I don't know if you're a Force user. It looks like you are probably not a Force user, but I could be wrong. But nothing I've seen so far indicates that you are playing a Force user. It looks like you're playing more of a Han Solo type.
Right, because this game is really a knockoff of the experience you have at Disney, where you actually go into the Star Wars game with your backpack and your headset, which was called Galaxy's Edge.
Right.
So,
right.
This is going to be basically a slimmed down version of that.
Yeah.
So.
But either way, it looks fun. It looks like you encounter R2-D2, C-3PO, and supposedly even possibly an encounter with the Master himself, Yoda.
Yeah, it's not even possible. It's guaranteed.
Yeah, they've actually already said it. Yes, I know.
Right. Sorry to ruin the surprise, folks, but you will meet Yoda. You will. Yeah.
Meet Yoda, you will.
You will.
So, and we have Agos from Ubisoft coming out, a game of space. That I think we already mentioned that a little bit, and I forgot to take it off of there. But it's coming out. It's not one of the big brand new ones that we hadn't known were coming out yet. So, a game of space building, exploration, traveling to find a new world. You are the AI in charge of assembling and directing everything. So
right, a new No Man's Sky sort of approach.
Yeah. And getting into the surprise announcements that we said, or that I touched on in the video last week, and we can discuss a little bit more now. We have an Assassin's Creed game that's coming out for the Quest.
If they do that right, it could, because I have to be honest, Assassin's Creed as a flat game was okay. I enjoyed it. But actually being in the Assassin's Guild would be an amazing adventure.
And speaking of parkour in VR.
Oh, God, yeah.
Leap of faith.
I know. I was thinking how much of that game is leaping and jumping from rooftops. And the game, like I said, the game could be absolutely incredible, from the first person perspective. Third person, it was okay. But first person, it should be super immersive and really exciting.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that. I am also looking forward to Myst on the Oculus Quest.
Oof. Did that come out of nowhere?
I believe it's going to have updated graphics. It's not the same graphics it had back then, which were extremely cutting edge back then, but now are like, wait, I wasn't impressed by that back then?
Well, that was 25 years ago, so yeah, you were, But yeah, the new one looks really, and the thing is that by introducing the narrator the way that they do in the trailer, they can go anywhere they want with this game and expand it in every direction. So, I know everybody I know that's ever played Myst, so when they saw that it was coming on VR, was like, what?
Yeah.
So.
And we have Splinter Cell coming to the Quest.
Once again, a game that played in 2D, the 2D flat game was fun, but can you imagine actually hanging off the balcony and using your night vision goggles? And it sounds like E-Spire taken to a human level as opposed.
Yeah. And Sniper Elite VR.
Looks fantastic. I mean, looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it should be a fun game. It looks like, and I've never played it or Splinter Cell in the flat game, so it'll all be brand new to me, all really cool.
See, Splinter Cell I have played, so I really am looking forward to that one, and I'm really looking for Warhammer. I played the original Warhammer.
That's the next one we were going to mention, Warhammer 40,000. Battle Sisters.
The original Warhammer was one of the best games I've ever played. I still remember spending.
Yeah, and it still has a huge following too. I mean, one of the YouTuber art channel that I watch, Jazza. He has that and periodically jumps into Oculus Medium and Flipside to make little videos in VR. I would imagine that he'll be playing this game because he's a huge Warhammer fan.
Oh, when I played the original Warhammer on the PC, and you were able to go from God view to first-person view in seconds,
Right.
It revolutionized gaming for me. That was like my Doom or Quake. When
Right.
it just changed everything. To be able to go from God view literally down, like playing Civ, any of the Civilization games, and being able to go down to a foot soldier or being God. It was just great, really great.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they implemented a lot of that in Warhammer 40,000.
Well, we shall find out. We don't have a lot of information on these past 4 titles or 5 titles now. Well, Myst we have a little bit more information, but Assassin's Creed and the Splinter Cell and Warhammer, I don't think we even have a trailer yet. Just never there was a trailer, but we also have the Climb 2 coming out, or as it is more affectionately known to us, the Chime 2.
The Chime 2, which seems to have improved upon the graphics enough to have impressed people who bought the Chime 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know yet. To me, I have to understand what the purpose of the Chime 2 is.
To get to the top.
Wasn't that the purpose?
And to beat your friends in getting to the top. And to climb skyscrapers instead of just cliffs and whatnot.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it seems like people that like the original Chime should like the Chime Climb 2.
Yep. We also have Jurassic World Aftermath coming out, which kind of looks like a Telltale Games style graphically.
Yeah, very cartoony.
I'm not entirely sold on that, but maybe that was a decision made because it was deemed to be potentially too scary if it was done realistically. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, like The Exorcist would be great with Elmer Fudd.
I'm hunting demons.
Be very, very quiet.
Yeah. Be very, very quiet.
I'm hunting demons. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I was excited when I heard it was coming, and then I saw the trailer and I saw the graphics, and I'm thinking, for the Go, this would have been really good. But we're talking Quest 2 here. Why am I looking at a cartoon?
Right. On the other hand, Lies Beneath had a similar style, kind of. It was a cartoon, just a flat, cell shaded, all that. It was still much more of a horror look and feel to it, but it was still that, cell shaded look. So
which turned me off.
It worked well, but I think it worked well despite those graphics.
That's what I was going to say, was those graphics were not particularly enticing.
Right.
Later on, when it becomes more surreal, you can, understand why they went with that style.
Right.
However, at the beginning, you're looking at it going, seriously? Like, why is this kidney-shaped thing squeaky? And, it's like, I don't know. I just was very turned off from the original cartoony graphics.
Right. Right. So that's something I'm a little bit about. I like the idea. I'm not sure if the graphics will detract too much from it. So
yeah.
We also have Walking Dead Saints and Sinners coming out.
I'm looking forward to
finally.
That. I'm just looking forward to the sale on that one because I'm looking at them going, okay, are now all the titles going to jump to the $40 mark now with the Quest 2?
I don't know. Maybe. I hope not.
I hope not as well, because we know that that's what they did with the Quest. when it first came out. They did that.
The title went from 99 cents to $29.99.
Exactly. And now a lot of them have reverted back to their $19.99 and $15.99. And if they jump to the $40 on top of this, I don't know. I'm going to have to see where that goes. You know, that's a tough one.
Yeah. We also have Population 1 coming out soon. Possibly a launch title.
I think so.
For the Oculus Quest 2. Because they had a tweet recently saying, hey, October 3rd, we're going to have our last big playtest. Our last big 2-hour playtest Saturday before the release of the game. So that tells them, even though they're not outright saying it,
they're saying it.
Why probably October 13th.
Yeah, I would imagine as soon as Quest 2 comes out, you're going to be able to jump into Pop 1. And, well, once you do that, Solaris sort of goes away anyway. So so. We're talking about a highly polished game coming up here, and something that where the developers actually listen to their base.
Yep.
Even without a base who's paid to play, have designed the game for players, by players. You know, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
it really is. So.
Yep, and of course we have, speaking of one-handed, we have Pistol Whip 2089 set coming out, which is not really a new game, but it's a big expansion pack that kind of turns it into a new game because it's got new visuals and new weapons, and so I'm looking forward to that.
I'm interested.
And it implements one-handed, right?
Yes, of course you could do dual wielding too if you want. I mean, you know, it's up to you.
You just lose a few points per game. You know?
Right. That's a design decision, gameplay, as opposed to here, hold the game this way, you'll love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
or else,
exactly. Just I can't understand it because so many of the best games just take the attitude of keep the players happy, especially if they're giving you correct information, you know.
Right. So. And we have Red Infinite coming out, which was a big hit back in the day. I'm not quite sure how well it's going to translate into today's VR space, but it was a big hit back in the day.
Back in the day, it was considered like top of the line.
Yeah.
But so is Firewall, made by the makers of Solaris. So, yeah, I'm hoping it comes out well. I really hope every game that comes out is a great game. So,
including the next one,
which is
Hatsune Miku VR.
No. Is this going to be like another Spice and Wolf, or what's going on with this?
No, Hatsune Miku is I don't know much about this specific VR title, but it's a Vocaloid, the character that you to dress up and do music videos and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have Little Witch Academia Broom Racing is coming out, which is based on an anime series and should be entertaining. I remember playing a Little Witch the broom racing thing way back when on the Go and the Gear VR. Hopefully it's come a long way since that game, which was just head tilt going through the rings and whatnot. But anyone who has Harry Potter Quidditch fantasies, this might be the game for you.
It certainly sounds like it, you know.
These are part of what they announced in the Quest 2 launch, the keynote stuff about how they're bringing Japanese titles over. So,
like Neo Chronos, they did so well with
Alt Deus Beyond Chronos, which is a sequel to Tokyo Chronos, but it looks like it's more interactive and more of a game and less of just a comic.
Could it have been any less interactive? Seriously?
Yes, it could have been.
Okay, I guess. I can't.
It could have been entirely just stand there and do nothing, and it all just happens around you without any input.
I guess that's true, but I think it was a very overpriced game for what it was.
Yeah, I mean,
have high
I
hopes
wanted to get it and go through the entire story, but I really didn't want to pay $40 for it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for a comic book is just a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, it was supposed to have the length of like an anime movie, which $40 kind of the right price for an anime movie, but it's not really an anime movie because it's more like a comic.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it's not what you would pay that kind of money for.
Right.
It's what you would pay half that kind of money for, maybe.
Right. So, and we have Space Channel 5 coming out.
Please don't make it.
You and Michael will be buying it and playing it, and then you'll be raving about it.
I'm not disagreeing.
Because it'll be better than Solaris.
Okay, so that's going to be our new meme. We're getting rid of soon and going to better than Solaris.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's what you should title this episode, by the way, when you get that.
Maybe. And that gets us through all of the upcoming titles that we had written down. The final.
Wow. I thought that was going to be a 2-hour section just on its own.
Well, that's why I was just going
Thank you.
through more fast and not spending a lot of time on any of them. So,
right.
in the video last week, I put up whatever trailers I was able to find for a lot of these, and it did a snippet of the trailer, and it's not the whole trailer, because otherwise that would have been a 2-hour episode.
Right. No, you did a great job with that. That was a really good review. I liked it. I enjoyed watching it.
So now, the news. Let's go through the. I mean, do you want to say anything about the Oculus Quest 2 that you haven't said, or I mean, I think pretty much most of the news is already out there about that.
That's just it. Is the news is out there, but the reviews seem to be kind of mixed at this point. Okay. We seem to really not be getting an Oculus Quest 2 as we originally were,
right,
when we saw it. But it seems to be more than a 1.5, less than a 2.0. It looks like a 1.75 maybe by the time you buy the extra accessories for it.
Right. It's cheaper for the base unit, but then when you add in the extra accessories, it's right back where it was, if not a little bit more.
A little bit more, actually. And because they are saying that the difference of the Elite head strap makes a big difference, the battery makes the difference, all of the higher price accessories make the difference. I also went with the VR cover that they're selling from Oculus directly, because it has the extra piece, and supposedly we have ventilated top, so our eyes don't fog up everything. Right. I'm just a little confused, I guess, with the LCD, OLED
decision.
No, I'm not really surprised as much by the decision, but when people keep talking about how the blacks are blacker on the OLED, but the reviews that show them side by side, I don't see a very noticeable difference on most.
Well, it's. I may not have seen the same ones you have seen, but with a recorded image, it's hard to tell because the screen recording is just going to look about the same when you watch it on the monitor. The only one that would show the difference would be a through the lens,
which I did see,
recording, and I think those are hard to do well and actually show all of the differences because of the distortions of the lens,
right?
And having to have to try to get it exactly in that sweet spot instead of on the edges where you're seeing a lot of the rings, and so.
Right. But I noticed that the coloring times when they would say that the LCD was, like I said, less black, but then they showed you the actual image through the lens.
Right.
And it appeared sometimes that the Quest 2 is darker in some images, which was sort of like weird. And the other thing is they mentioned the latency of the white against black, and until it hits 90 hertz, some people might notice that. And the IPD being fixed.
Yeah, that's one of my potential drawbacks about it, is because I'm on that wider end, and I will have to be at that third position, which means I will potentially be seeing right at the edges of my periphery. I'll maybe see the edges of the screen.
I'm hoping that the interface will cover that, because I know we eliminated some.
Yeah, especially if you have the VR cover one on, which is that pushes it out a little bit away from your eyes, therefore reducing your field of view a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that might help a little bit with that. Yeah.
That's probably going to be the big thing. The XR2 chip, which I was really happy to hear about, I don't like the fact that they knocked down the CPU usage a bit on release.
I can understand why. I mean, so Facebook is very cautious about that stuff. The Carmack is more of a risk taker when it comes to that. He's like, hey, let's see what it can do. And Facebook is like, no, we want it to run absolutely perfect and butter smooth with no chance of, messing up. And, and realistically, it needs to be a compromise between those two, I think, One
word.
So Facebook sometimes takes it a little bit too safe.
Except for Solaris.
Well, yeah. And VR cards.
Oh, God.
You forgot about that, didn't you?
No, I just keep trying. But somebody inevitably reminds me. I just still have no idea how that got ever onto any of the platforms, including the Go. I don't know. I'm really, unless Zuck decides that in his spare time, I have no idea how it got.
It was his favorite game.
That would be the only thing I could think of. And who was I just reading about that's making those 3D avatars? There's another company that just jumped in to make 3D avatars.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll have to look that up for the next show. But they were talking about being able to now make 3D avatars that are cross-platform for like 12 different platforms that they've mentioned already. And
so that'd be cool. Because that is one thing that I would like, is to be able to have my avatar that I can have in any game. But of course, the game has to support that.
Right.
And if it's done right, it could be just hey, include our API in the game, and then one line of code, or whatever, So.
Well, I don't know how difficult it is, because after experiencing Horizon and the fact that they can't even let me put a beard or a mustache or anything that would indicate.
Actually, you could put a beard and mustache on there if you really wanted to, by going into the creation mode, and then in that game you could have a beard and a mustache that you could attach to yourself.
True, but then when I'm my regular avatar,
I know. Yeah.
So the whole idea is to appear the same way to these people that you're playing.
And that's one thing I don't like about that game, is I can't go in there and look masculine.
Right. No, you can't. The whole
I look like a girl pretending to be a guy.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. I don't understand why they are so limited in their avatar creation.
I don't know.
So
maybe we're just not the demographic they're marketing to.
Well, I would imagine other people would have somewhat of a problem with this.
Maybe, I don't know, but you see people using those Snapchat filters all the time that turn them into everything but themselves,
Right, exactly. So I'm not really sure why, when we're creating a cartoon version of ourselves, it can't be a little more detailed.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let me be a dragon. I don't care.
Right. Hey, I'm Bugs Bunny, and Rec Room or the Chat, one of those places. So yeah, I think that's a biggie. But I think as far as Quest 2 goes, like everybody else had said, the original strap it's coming with, no.
Right.
You have to get the Elite strap at least, and which makes sense. I mean, it does.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had to do that with the, well.
You had to modify.
Sorry, you had to get the VR cover with the original Quest because of their crappy foam, and now they've gotten a little bit cheaper in the building quality. Well, not quality, but materials.
Right.
So yeah, the Elite head strap is much more similar to the Quest 1 head strap, and it's also got the screw-in feature for the adjustment. That is a very cool feature and very useful.
Right.
So
deluxe audio strap for the Vive. So it's just several things that they did. But then when I thought about it last night and I was trying to really think about it, it's like, well, they're bringing out a Quest 2 for $50 more than they brought out the Go.
Right.
So once you put it that way, it's very hard to argue with any of the things that they're doing.
Right. Right. And honestly, if they hadn't sold accessories with it, I'd be waiting until accessories came out and then buying them.
Right. Which I'm sure that they will, and there'll be aftermarket parts and everything again. But it did seem like the VR cover did produce the most accessories for comfort.
Right. The only thing I don't like is I have an AM VR cover on my original Quest, which was like half the price of the VR cover, and the VR cover that's being bundled with the Quest 2, I think, is more expensive than the original Quest the VR cover was.
It was $29. No, it's about the same thing.
Okay.
About the same thing.
But yeah, and it's like, oh, I know I'm going to want it. Having it day one would be better than not having it the day one, but if we were willing to wait a month or two, I could probably get the AM VR cover, which would be half the price, work just as well. Yeah.
I know. It becomes the type of thing where how long do you want to wait to make it right for you?
Right.
So, the only place you can really sort of skip is the accessories if you want the base unit, and then just build up from there.
Right. So, are we ready to move on to Project Aria?
Let's do that.
Okay. Let's move on to Project Aria then. Project Aria. Facebook's AR venture. Not out yet, but they are in testing and training of the machine learning and whatnot, the stage of it right now. It promises to be very impressive on the technology side, especially, in my opinion, on the audio side of the technology. And they are, I believe, they hinted that progress made for Aria on the audio would or could to translate into the VR side also. Being able to better simulate the properties of our actual ears so that sounds actually sound real and not, oh, that's a game sound, that's the real sound, so.
Yeah. No, I think that what they're doing, it's ambitious. Project Aria is very ambitious. I guess that's why they have a couple of thousand people trying it out around the world right now.
Yeah, with little lights on there indicating that the camera's going, and wearing t-shirts that are saying, this is Project Aria, ask about it.
Well, in one way that comforts people that they're not being spied on. In another way, it's giving them their information. But let's face it, Facebook is all about collecting data. So
yeah. But yeah, as much as I like the AR side, and the visual AR part of it. I'm also really looking forward to the audio AR that they'll be doing, because that will prove to make it something I'd want to have on my head all day long, because it would help me hear.
Right. Well,
and I am hard of hearing already. Those restaurant situations that they talked about and they demoed in the keynote, those are very difficult situations for me to be able to hear. I mean, I could be here, someone across the table from me, I can hear someone next to them right there. I can barely hear someone next to them. I can't.
Right.
You know?
But then do you want to? Because my hearing is
when it's my in-laws, I don't necessarily, but...
Right. Well, I've been to some restaurants where the noise, the ambient noise is so much that even speaking to somebody at this type of distance is overwhelming, really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So this is promising. It remains to be seen how well they can deliver on the promise, but it promises to be able to tell by where you are looking, and in the future, if they're wearing a headset also, it'll just make it even better and make it even more seamless. But they will be able to tell by where you are looking and who's around you and the tone of the voice and the vocal timbre and all that. They'll be able to tone down all the background noise, turn up all the noise all the sound that you want to be listening to.
Right. Which hopefully will work.
Right.
Obviously, they're not.
There is a hearing aid out there that does a similar thing, but it's an experimental one, and it involves electrodes in your brain at this point to be able to identify the audio waves that you are paying attention to, and then amplify those and dampen the other ones.
A little invasive. A little invasive.
Yeah. Well, they are hoping to be able to move it to outside of the head, the sensing of the brainwaves. That right now it's just with electrodes. So.
Right. Well, no, Aria has me excited as something that they could do. Also, the fact that they're incorporating an SDK into the Quest 2 to allow developers to put AR objects.
Right. Yep. So that would go to the new news that just came out in the past week, yeah.
Right. So that's a real interesting one that they're experimenting with that already on the existing Quest headset. So
yeah. So that apps like Spatial and whatnot will be able to have the pass-through background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and also the way that they're experimenting with the pass-through to be able to get it to be different levels of pass-through, to be able to use the keyboard and still be in your environment, and able to control how much you're in your environment and how much you're in the headset. I think all of those things are really paying attention to what people need.
Yeah. And one of the other things is I think, but I'm not sure, I kind of got the impression that the Infinite Office is going to be a Quest 2 only thing.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Which immediately, I'm sure you knew as well when they announced Quest 2 that they were announcing a headset that was going to be capable of performing more than what the Quest 1 is capable of performing.
Yes. Yeah. Even though it's not quite as capable as people were hoping when they heard XR2, it's still going to be capable of more, and at some point they may discover that they can eke more out of it than what they are allowing themselves to right now.
Oh, look what they did.
I mean, look what they've already done with the original Quest, as you were going to say. So.
Exactly. They just keep moving it up with the bar every few weeks. I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with the Quest. Just when they've already announced it's going to be 90 hertz, so they've already done tweaking that still has to be implemented. So I'm looking forward to it. I know the Quest 1 headset that I have now is better than the Quest 1 headset I purchased, thanks to their upgrade.
And you didn't even purchase a new one.
Oh, but
all of the improvements were software.
That's true, and
on an extremely old chipset.
Yeah, that's what I'm really looking to see, is if they could do that with that 4-year-old chipset, what are they going to be able to do with the chipset that's really not available until next year?
Right, and what if they discover that there's a way to implement overclocking and have an algorithm that just replaces the active cooling? So somehow, who knows? They have some little geniuses working for them.
Yes, they do. So. I don't put anything beyond what they're capable of doing other than releasing a headset less than every 2 years. That would be my...
You mean more than every 2 years?
No, I'd like them to hold it back. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean.
Right.
Instead of less than 2 years, more than 2 years.
Yeah. Don't
in
make
between.
Don't make me buy a new console, which is really what it is.
Yeah.
Every year and a half to 2 years.
Right. It's every year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. I really wanted, as we mentioned before, I really wanted like a 4-year span between Gen 1 and Gen 2. 1S, 1.5, whatever you want to call it in between, sure, but 3 to 4 years before the next full generation.
It would have to be. If they really came out with another one within a year that wasn't just because of AR as opposed to the VR, right. I think between that and having to sign in through Facebook, they're going to make themselves some problems. So
I mean, there's still a lot of hurt feelings about that. Anyways, let's move on to the Pico Neo Lite, which is the supposed Oculus Quest competitor that may or may not be an actual competitor.
You mean that's twice as expensive and half as powerful? Yeah.
And that's Chinese.
Could you please explain to me why
I know
is not allowed, but we can put these headsets that I'm sure that they have not taken apart and seen every processor in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it looks similar to the Quest 2. It's got similar features, capabilities, and all that. It doesn't have the market yet, so the library of apps. And it's Chinese. You think Facebook has privacy concerns? Chinese has a lot more.
What happened with TikTok and WeChat? All of a sudden, they're going to allow the hardware into the...
I know.
Huge war with Huawei, where everybody else in the world could use Huawei except for us in the States. Right. But you can buy this Chinese headset. What?
Well, it's not available in the U.S. yet, and it, honestly, given what's going on today, it might not be because China. But I don't think that being higher priced, not having an established library, not being quite as powerful in all of the ways, and being Chinese, I don't think it's going to catch on.
No.
I really don't. It's a nice effort, but I don't think it's going to catch on. The Unreal AR glasses have a better chance.
I agree.
But they're a completely different kind of device.
I know. That's just it, is we keep using the term AR as though it's interchangeable when it's not. And some people are getting smart glasses and some people are...
In theory, the Unreal glasses can be VR if you black them out.
Right. All of them. All of them. As soon as you put that reflector on, you're fine.
Right. Even the AR contact lenses they are working on can be VR contact lenses if you close your eyes.
That's true.
I don't think it would be able to be fixed off at that point, probably, but I don't know.
I don't know how the Guardian system would work on that. That would be a very difficult thing.
Guardian system is your stubbing of your toes.
I was going to say, right, the Guardian system. Exactly.
Okay,
ouch. Right. Oops, not fair.
Clip edge. Bye.
Oh God, yeah. Talking about doing parkour without wanting to.
Oh
Um,
yeah, this video.
yeah,
I know that was insane.
that was pretty. Well, as was mentioned, if you get your headsets for free, I guess you could try that kind of lunacy. But
Yeah.
oh,
No, he was just really immersed in it and forgot that he was wearing a headset. he was he was just trying that hard to get away from that head
head
crab.
crab. I know, man. The guy's got. I'd want him on my team, especially if there were head crabs on the other team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny watching that. I really don't know where they're going to go with AR. All the promises that they're making and all the different directions that they have. I still, once again, if they can do AR through the pass-through on the Quest 2,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
That is one thing that I think people were a little bit disappointed about is the AR pass-through stuff. People wanted a higher resolution pass-through image, and they wanted color so
Yes,
that you could do actual AR that wasn't like completely unrealistic because the color 3D image, black and white, real,
yeah,
So
I know, and that doesn't make any sense to me either. It really
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. And I could swear that in the keynote that they mentioned that the cameras were higher resolution, but then the Carmack indicated that they're not. So I don't know.
Right, the higher resolution could just come from the extra pixels in the headset to begin with.
Well, I'm talking about the tracking the
Right.
cameras.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing is in reading about tracking, and once again, this is following all different magazines and reviews and everything.
Right.
Some people were complaining that there was more latency in the newer controllers than in the older controllers, and other people were talking about how there was less latency and more control, and it's just
Right.
confusing.
Yeah. Who knows? It remains to be seen.
Right.
Speaking of remains to be seen, we have 4 minor news updates to quickly go through as well. No Man's Sky update adds millions of new procedurally generated world possibilities. So they have millions more added to the billions that they already had.
Okay. I personally wasn't all that excited about the extra million or two.
Yeah, well, it's still a little bit of news for those that are into No Man's Sky. Now you have more potential worlds to explore and try not to die on.
There you go.
Hideo Kojima says that he thinks that the next 2 to 3 years will be major for VR. Upload VR had a little article. He had previously said that he would like to work on VR, but he didn't have the time. However, the Death Stranding is now out. That's what he was working on at the time, so maybe he's got the time now, and he'll be able to work on VR stuff. I wonder what he'd be able to do with VR.
Yeah, I'd love to see something that he'd come out with in VR. That would be great.
Yeah. In other news, Frostpoint VR open beta starts September 28th. You can go to their website and sign up for it by giving your email and your Oculus username or your Steam username, and then to verifying it. And then you are signed up for the open beta, and they have a play to own campaign going on right now.
Right.
So the first 3,000 players to reach a target of 10 completed matches will win a key for the full version of the game upon release. So the open beta test runs from September 28th to October 19th.
So you think they're aiming for the Quest 2?
Maybe. Right now it's just PC, I believe, but yeah. But they may be aiming for the Quest as well. Again, as a lot of them say, depending on how well they do on, which I kind of think is the backward way of looking at it, but what do I know?
I know. Well, look, considering the fact that Facebook pushed everybody to develop for the Rift S, and then is now taking the Rift S out of the game completely. It's just like what?
Yeah, exactly. And our last short little bit of news. Also, VR raises $14 million to bring VR to surgical and medical device training, specifically things like ventilators. Those are things that you need very specific training on, and even right now, still, even after this much time, there tend to be a handful of people that are trained on those. And if you want to bring a new person in, you got to pull someone away from administering them to train a new person. Well, with VR training, you can train them on that without someone else there, and it'll be just as good quality. You won't have to waste any equipment. They can break anything they want in the VR environment, and you don't have to pay to replace it.
Generally, unless there's the just for the new ventilator, microtransactions. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, once again, this all still comes back down to education and reinforcement. And I'm a little surprised to see that companies aren't using VR more at this point.
Yes.
It's one thing to have said year ago.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes sense on a training and education level. I mean, we do a lot of gaming with it, which that's fun, and there's a lot of games out there, but that's really not the only thing.
No,
education is so much more powerful within VR if it is done right. If it's done the traditional way, as you're in a virtual classroom and the teacher up in front writing on a virtual class or a chalkboard, that's not really any better, except it does add a little bit of extra focus,
Right.
But if it's like Engage, where they have a sample lesson you can go through about house cats. You get just a giant house cat appearing in front of you. You get a whole herd of house cats appearing around you on the floor. You see a giant bird, and then a giant cat pounces on the bird and whatnot. And it's all more engaging.
Exactly. And that is the thing, is to get away from the static whiteboard, the two-dimensional world we live in, and give the three-dimensional world a chance to actually penetrate this child's mind. Right. Or this person's mind. And
right. And things like medical device training. I tried some medical training when I went to the it's the only VR conference I've ever been to out in Lansing, Michigan. Previously, there was a demo of a medical device training where you have to do an IV injection or whatever, and it walks you through every step. It tells you everything. It has you do everything, and for the most part, everything pretty similar, muscular-wise, to what how you would actually do it. They had it so that when you are pushing in the injection, and you can't go too fast, or you'll make an air bubble and kill the patient. You have to go slow, and they use the analog stick to control the speed. So you push it up slowly to push in the plunger on the syringe. So it's a 1-to-1, and you're trained through that way.
Right. And it's probably a very good thing. I know when I was training originally for some computer graphics, I was training with a book that would let you make mistakes on purpose.
Right.
Or not let you do something on purpose in order to be able to show you how to work around that or why.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I like to do when I am training people. Is if I see they're about to mistake or about to make a mistake, I let them. And if I see they're not making any mistakes, I kind of force one, because when you're out on the actual job, you will make mistakes, and it's good to know how to fix them.
Yeah. Right, exactly. You should know why it works, not just how it works,
Right.
why it works that particular way. So that really is the beauty in that system too. Like you said, it avoids danger, but it also gives you an in-depth look at why something might happen without killing everybody around you.
Right. Right. So it's a perfect use case for VR. And so that's why I periodically, even though it seems like just more of the same news, oh, another company gets into it. Well, it's still news. It's important, and in some ways it's more important than our usual news of, hey, we got Assassin's Creed coming.
Right.
You know?
Right. The incremental advances that are made that people are not looking at,
Right.
as long as we keep everyone informed about those,
Right.
it's just good to know that those are happening,
Yeah.
And like you say, it's more important sometimes than the leap. Sometimes the incremental changes are more important.
Right. Anyway, that brings us to half an hour over our usual podcast length. Our apologies, but we had a lot to get through today.
Yeah, it was a rough one. I hope you're still there. I hope everyone enjoyed the show today.
Yep.
We tried to pass as much
If you didn't
information.
enjoy it, we don't want to know.
No, please. No, no. As long as you hit the subscribe and drag your friends over, we're okay with it.
Yep.
And if you took anything away from it,
Please give it back.
Yes, Josh needs it badly.
Well, have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whenever you watch this, and have fun. Bye.
Bye.